It's wonderful to see both of you. I mean, I think it's fair to say you're like Powerpop's coolest couple, cutest couple, and you've been married for like 23 years, and we have this new joint album, Long After the Fire, which obviously I want to ask a lot of questions about, but I do want to get the obvious first question out of the way, which I think a lot of people, maybe people don't know about your love story, and you've only been making music together for a little while. So like how did you guys meet? I know it was through your sister John, but like, what's the story about when you first met?
She doesn't get to have credit for that. No, we
Okay,
we
sorry.
met because my sister and my best friend and I, who were in a band in high school, went to a club where we'd already played in down in Redondo Beach, California, and the Cowsills were playing, and I was a huge Cowsill fan when I was a kid, and quite crushing on the drummer. Cute. And and I was determined to go to this show and meet them. And we were actually underage, but I talked the manager into letting us all in because we had just played there, so he had to let us in.
And
So
this was before the Bangs. This is a pre-Bangs
this
band.
is pre-Bangs. This is just
Okay.
me and Amanda, and we were just sort of a pop rock band, and
Those girls.
yeah, and I think we were those girls by then. Anyway, so that's where we met. Susan wanted nothing to do with us, by the way. At that point, we were sort of annoying girls who were hanging around, like,
Her
trying
brothers.
to flirt with her brothers as far as she was concerned. So she wanted nothing to do with us. But then later, actually, fast forward many years later, and Susan and I became fast friends, or not so fast friends, but very, very close friends, I'll say, best friends for life.
What was the date we
And
met?
John and I met, it's coming up, our anniversary, April 28th,
Oh, wow.
1978.
Wow. So you met actually at this club in Redondo, and how
Mhm.
old you were both teen. I mean, I know that the Cowsills they started
We're grown up.
so early that like you were probably already like a veteran artist by the time your paths crossed, even though because you were like somebody like seven, right, when the Cowsills started or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
He was 22 when we met.
Okay, and so you were like about a little bit younger, a little bit younger than that. Did you actually meet? Like, did you meet or did you
I
just look
went
at
up
him
to
from
him. I
afar?
was not no, I was not going to let this night go without speaking to this man. So yes, I did bother him while he was, I think,
I
setting
know.
up. I think we went to sound check and just engaged him in conversations because it was just like, I am going to do this or I will kill myself. I just have to talk to him. You know, that situation where you find yourself in a position where you never really imagined you would ever actually be, and you have to take advantage of the moment. And I was kind of a ballsy chick. So I just went up to him and started chatting.
I remember the table you were sitting at
You
right
do
by the
remember that,
stairway.
yeah.
I remember
That's
exactly where
right.
you were
That's
sitting,
exactly what I
man.
was saying.
I remember that because
I
I
remember.
walked over there
Yeah.
and you and Amanda and Debbie were sitting there. And Vicki had a tape recorder on her lap under the table and recorded the show.
Very,
Ooh.
yeah. It's not like this, where you can just slide this in and nobody knows you're
It
recording.
was one of those
No. It
rectangle.
was
No, it's like that episode of What's Happening with Rerun, where he like
Yeah, yeah.
tapes the Doobie Brothers and he has like that gigantic
uh,
coat and like this, thing that's like this big strapped to his chest. Yeah. It was not easy to bootleg then. Do you still have
no,
the tape?
I do. I do.
Oh,
I
that's
do.
so cute.
I
So
know.
so did you guys keep in touch anyway, or did obviously I imagine maybe as the Bangles started to ascend, maybe like did you put two and two together, John? Like, oh, that's that girl from and what club
I
was it,
was
by the way?
never putting two and two
No.
together. I was always just one foot in front of the other. So I'd really hardly paid attention.
He wasn't paying too much attention. Although we did cross paths several times, and I did stay in touch with his brother Bob, who
Mhm,
who sort of
mhm.
became a mentor in a way for me,
Oh.
especially as the Bengals started to rise. But Debbie and I, we've told this story, but Debbie and I ran into them when John and Susan were playing with Dwight Twilley. We were at SIR to go to a Circle Jerks listening party, and we ran into him outside. And I go, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" I'm rehearsing with Dwight, and we said we're going to come in and bother you. And meanwhile, I ran back to my Hollywood apartment and got the 45 that we had made. It was the
The
Bangs
bangs.
first 45 that we had made with our own money, and I was so proud that I'm going to show him. Look, we made a record. This is a
Oh.
record. It is a 45 record, and we made it. And
I
So
made her sign it.
he did. He made me autograph it, which was super cute. And I was just like nervous.
But then I lost it like along the way, don't know where. I mean, I've lost drum sets, so you can't fault me for losing stuff. I mean, it was in my drum trap case for a
You said
while.
it was in your drum case.
Yep,
Someone
forever.
stole it.
No,
It's
no,
worth
no, no,
$500
no,
now.
no. Like the case disappeared. You know,
Oh.
that's my life. I just like if I couldn't fit it in a car, I just
Things
left
go
it
away.
behind. Yeah, I mean,
So
That
we
is hilarious.
kind of our paths did continue to cross and cross again. But John, of course, we met in April, as I said. By early May, he was married to wife number one, which I found very
In 78.
in 78.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a young groom. So
So it wasn't meant to be. So when did it all, I mean, it seemed like, you were leading these kind of parallel paths and crossing paths. Like when did the romance start, I guess is what I'm trying to
that's
ask.
crossed again.
here we are here for Hootie.
That was 2000.
So 2000.
Yeah, about 2000. We kind of reconnected, and he was almost like my brother, because at this point I knew all the Cowsills.
Well, she was best friends with my sister
Yeah.
by this time. So like my sister has told her everything about me. I was like right up to threatening her, don't you date my brother, that kind of stuff. He's not a good guy.
No.
Yeah.
Bad boy.
Oh, I was a nice guy, but I
a nice guy.
did bad things.
You had your moments.
Well, it all worked out. It all worked out. Like, did Susan literally say like, "Stay away, he's bad news," kind of thing?
Said, if you date my brother, I will kill you.
Well, I'm glad that she didn't do that.
But I'm telling you.
And it all worked out. I mean, the other kind of obvious, sort of cliche-ish question, I'm sure you've been asked this in so many of your interviews, is like, obviously, in general, 23 years is a long time to be married. Just in life, a lot of people don't make it that far. But in rock and roll, like, translate that into like dog years, basically. Like in rock and roll and entertainment in general, like, it's kind of rare that a marriage lasts that long. It just is.
We began
So what's
5 years because we were both touring so much
Yeah,
in the
you have to
very
remember
early
that
parts
too.
of it. So, with the Beach Boys, I'd be on the road 80% of the year. Of course, she would come out with me, but I had married again one other
In
time.
between.
So in between my in between marriage, anyway, and
the third time was the charm then?
yes, that's what I say too. She said she waited for me, so it's really.
Aw.
I know
I was busy.
She's so
I was
nice.
busy. I just didn't get married.
Okay.
Did not
Okay.
marry. I had a life.
And can I tell them something?
Uh-oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna
What
tell
are you
them.
going to tell
Okay,
her?
so when I'm courting her, I was courting her while she was living in New Orleans and I was in California. And when it started getting serious, she says, okay, you need to sit down and I need to tell you something. Okay, because I don't know she's liked me since she was a kid and all that stuff that everybody knows now. Okay, I know nothing. So I sit down and she goes and gets something. She says, I have to tell you this before you hear this from your sister or my family. And I said, okay. And she comes down and she hands a manuscript this thick of her life with John Cowsill and his family. And early fan fiction, basically, but how she was going to be my girl and we were going to be a thing. And
I was going to be on the road.
It's like 300 and something pages, and she's going to be on the road with us. And how old were you? 12, 13? Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's adorable because it was it wasn't like you wrote it like
wasn't crazy
the year before.
It was early versions of fan fiction.
Yeah.
It didn't exist then in those olden days. But yeah, it was just this little fantasy story about spending a summer on the road with the Cowsills. And of course, take a 13-year-old as their roadie. Why not? Why wouldn't you?
And needless to say, she's afraid to show me this because she knows my pattern of like fans. I love fans, but I don't want to date one. And that's the general consensus. And she hands it, and she thought I would think weird, but I got so teary-eyed. It was because I was already in love with her. And so
Oh,
it's just like I feel that right now. So it was like the sweetest
oh.
thing I know, right?
Yeah, I said you're either going to find this sort of adorable or you're going to go run screaming into the night, and I don't know which one, how it's going to go. And luckily,
No,
he thought it was
no.
adorable.
It was adorable. I loved it. It just, and she's kept threatening to, I'm going to burn it.
I'm burn
You know,
it.
she was embarrassed by it. Don't you dare destroy this thing. Oh my God. It's publishable, even though she says it's not.
Well, it's
But
not.
I think it's
Some
the most
serious
beautiful
editing.
little story. It blows my mind. I had no idea. You know,
It's really adorable. And yeah, I mean, I can see how adorable it is. Wow. I mean, that could have definitely gone the other way.
Thank you, Lizzie. You understand.
yeah.
That that took a lot of guts for you, Vicky, to
I
do
wasn't
that.
sure. But if it was something that had to be, we were at that point. This is called intimacy. We have to actually share this moment.
Yeah.
I have to let you in on something. And
I
it's
feel
funny,
like
Larry said he never knew because everyone else and the rest of his family, like when his sister-in-law told his brother Paul, you know, like John's got a girlfriend. He's dating Vicky, and Paul goes, yeah, like of course, like duh. You know, it was like, and John's he had no idea.
Nobody told
'Cause
me.
of course he is.
Why would I know that? I'm always gone, always stoned. You know, I mean, I was just like,
I mean, you give us, it's a story that I mean, for better or worse, I mean, maybe it's like a don't try this at home thing because it doesn't always work out this way, but like it does kind of give hope to all the teenage fangirls out there for, you know, for lack of a better word, that maybe one day it could be this.
it's a little Hollywood romantic story, really, if you think about it. It's just
No,
so bizarre to me
Yeah.
still.
it is pretty wild.
You
It's
had
pretty
that all
wild.
going on, and here we are. I fell in love with you without knowing that. And then
Like I told Susan's daughter when she was in love with Nick Jonas, and she's like, oh, maybe there's a chance for me and Nick. And I go,
Yeah,
well,
like,
you know, maybe.
kind of what you were, Lindsay, like just saying, it gives people hope that maybe it can happen.
I kind of feel like this should be a movie, like a scripted movie. We could start with the 300 pages that Vicky wrote as like the beginning for the treatment. I mean, even if you fictionalize it a little bit, it's just like a
Right.
really cute.
I thought
Of
about
course,
that
of
actually.
course, of course.
I thought about that many
But
times.
there's so many great things in it that, and it was so funny to read it because so much without knowing us, she nailed a couple of
A
things.
couple of things.
But like we didn't drink beer at our age, but she was giving us, hey, you want another beer, you guys?
Assuming,
you know.
of course.
And I smoked cigarettes,
Yeah,
which
like,
I would never
never.
do. Oh my God.
But of course, I think, well, they're musicians. Of course, they smoke.
Right.
You know, I mean, my boyfriend at the time smoked.
That's so
30,
funny.
But you know, yeah, of course, I assumed you guys drank beer and smoked, you know, at 16, you know.
But she
as
got
was.
my wise assness down,
I did.
you know.
It was truly meant to be. And so now, you know, we brings us to the present that long after the fire's coming out. And I
Yeah.
did mention that you didn't start making music together until, I don't know, maybe about 5 years ago or something, maybe a little.
About 5 years now. Actually, a little. 5 years was the pandemic, so
Six years
maybe
ago.
6 now.
Yeah.
It took us a while, but when we started, it had been, you know, we'd already been married for.
Tell her the first song we
26
sang together and when and then we didn't do anything after
Right.
that.
In 2004, we had a benefit for Bill Cowsill, who was in ill health up in Canada. And so the family got together, and at the El Rey, we put on this beautiful show. And John and I, had just been married a year. So we said, well, okay, we should do something. Let's do something. And we learned the song 1,000 times, which of course is our first single off this record.
Yeah.
And we learned it and performed it together as the newlyweds. Kind of messed it up a bit, but we had fun, and that was our first time ever singing together in public as just the two of us. Because I mean, I was played with the Cowsills for a little while, so I played on stage with you, but we never sang like as a duo
ever.
And then that was it. And fast forward 15 years before we did it again. You know, it's like we had this a really nice domestic life. We had a great relationship for two people who toured constantly. A lot of potential weirdness is there, but really navigated that well.
The only time we ever really sang together is somebody sent us a file. They wanted us to sing backgrounds on a song for them, and we go into our studio. We had a studio downstairs, but we just didn't use it together. And we would do backgrounds for people, say, "Oh, this was fun. We had a good time," because we're both arrangers of vocals, Yeah,
natural harmony
interesting.
singer.
Natural harmony
Yeah,
singers.
you know, that it could, I felt like this could complicate our relationship in a way. I'm not sure I want to go there yet,
Mhm.
and it has been a learning curve. I think ultimately I'm
Yeah.
so glad that we really dove in and decided to do it. And I was definitely the reluctant party. I will admit that. But once we decided on really tackling the Dead Brothers project, which was its working title.
Is that really? I mean, that's literally what you called
That
it.
was what we
Really
called
was,
it forever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's and Bill and Barry would appreciate
We
that.
would have even called it that, but we went online and there's so many Dead Brother
You'd
projects
be
out there.
surprised.
I didn't even think that. I thought we were being original, but
Like if you Google the name, a lot of things come up.
Yeah, feel free. Yeah.
Okay, maybe later. Maybe I'll. So yeah, as I was talking about this album, but yes, it is a tribute to Barry and Bill because it's their songs, including the song you just mentioned. So like, I guess another obvious question would be, uh, what gave you the idea to do the Dead Brothers project? I can't believe I'm posing the question that way, but what gave you the idea?
probably 10 or 11 years ago, about a decade ago, I had this idea to do this because I'm not a big writer. I'm a singer and I'm an interpreter of song. And I always loved the songs Bill wrote. I mean, I've just loved and Barry's. I watched Barry write them. I've sung with Bill, in my kitchen on occasion. And they're just songs I've always known. And if I was alone, I'd sit and try to figure out the chords and I'd sing the songs to myself. And so I told Vicki, about that a long time ago, and she was all, yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that.
Oh yeah.
And we talked and talked and talked about it. And
started,
we're really good at talking about
yeah,
something and never
Okay.
getting to it.
I mean, we
And
did start playing around at the piano, start with like keys and what song might we do, and do you want to sing this one or should I sing that one?
right.
And then we kept hitting, and it's like, oh yeah, but what's for dinner?
But I'm gonna say a major role in getting this started and gone is from Paul Allen, who is our producer and who is a friend of mine. Who I was a carpenter in Ojai. His mom called me up to work on their house. He was 11 years old. I met him there. Part of the job was he had to work with me, and I taught him how to drill into rocks and put gates up and all this kind of stuff. And he was a little musician back then, but I hardly paid attention to it. Helped him figure out where to put the strap on a guitar. I set him up with a church group to go play because he was such an interesting kid and just lovely. I'm giving you a short version of this story. And so then I hadn't seen him for 30 years, no, about 25 years. And I'm playing the Ryman with the Beach Boys in 2017 or 18 or something like that. And I get a note, hey, this is Paul Allen. I'm out in the front. He says, do you remember me? You worked on my house and stuff. And I went, wow, he texted me. And I texted him, yeah, man, how'd you get my number? Through a Mario Caleri, who's a mutual friend, used to play with Wallflowers. Anyway, and so I go out and there he is, and he's 6'4", 6'5", beautiful. And he looks the same. And we have been inseparable since that day. And he has worked with everybody. And I told him about this project, and then he really got us started with the first song. Beach Boys were playing in Memphis, and he called up. He said, hey, I see you guys are in Memphis. He says, hey, you want to record at Sun Records? And I said, why? He said, because so we can say we recorded at Sun Records. I said, Paul, what do you got to record? He says, well, you told me about the Dead Brothers thing. Don't you have some?
One of those songs.
Let's go there and do that. And so we picked the song we picked was Is Anybody Here? Because it's such a Roy Orbison tribute that my brother Bill and Jeffrey Hatcher wrote. And it was just such the fitting song with all those Roy on the Wall, Elvis, Jerry Lee, Johnny Cash, all my heroes, really. Anybody of my age is heroes. And that's how the project got started. And then it took quite a while to finish it. It took probably about 4 years more because I was still with the Beach Boys, and then we moved to New York, and then we had to go back and forth to California. Anyway, that's what started it. And it's Paul Allen who is still to this day pushing it over the line for us, because we don't know the new music business, and he did, and he knows metadata. He knows how it works. He's very studied and just an amazing young man, and we just adore him. And he plays with us whenever we can have
Whenever we can get
the
him.
3-0, and he plays
The 3-0,
everything.
I like that.
Yeah, the 3-0.
Yeah. So there's a recurring theme that's kind of interesting is that people that you, John, met many years ago when they were kids kind of came back into your life in like really monumental ways, personally and professionally. Like, I mean, did this guy Paul have like a 300-page book about one day working with you? But it just seems like everyone's kind of like it's kind of like written in the stars or something.
Because of the age he was when we met, and because I guess my personality, we goofed around the whole time, and he remembers so much. It's so impressed in his head. And then he was talking to a guy he was doing a session with. He says, "Hey, you know John Cowsill?" He says, "What's his number? What's he doing?" He's playing with the Beach Boys. So he found me. And Paul has played with everyone. Paul Allen, he's played with Adele. He was with bigger,
Wow.
the Wooten brothers. I don't know if you know who that, Joseph Wooten. Um, he is a very successful session player and producer, and he just produced the Jesus Lizards brand new album, and that just it's huge.
Crazy.
It's
Awesome.
crazy, and he's just an amazing guy, man, and
He's
knowledgeable.
He's a polymath. He
Yeah.
knows so many things about so many things.
And he's tutored us through the whole
And he's our
process
dad.
of how to get publishing. We couldn't, I mean, we didn't know anything about the news business.
That surprises me given the huge amount between the two of you. Your resume is
The
like
old business.
dazzling.
It's not even just the old business. The business has changed, but you also acknowledge, and of course you know this, that that so many of aspects of the business of music business has fallen back on the artist
Yeah.
to know how to do. And so to know how to do that well, I mean, I had broad strokes. I know how to distribute to a DSP, and I know how to do this and this and this, but to fill out a detailed metadata sheet and to make sure that everything is in line the way it's supposed to be, so that it all lines up.
So many codes.
It just, and then plus, because this is a first for me also to do an album of covers. I'm always doing original material.
Well, the Bangles did so many covers, or a few covers. They did some, like, September Girls or whatever.
Thank you. We always picked a few choice covers for our records because we love to do that.
And you would license them.
Of course, but the label would license them, and the label was going to find the compulsory licenses, and they're going to track down the publishers. That fell on me. So on this project, and it was, and some of those songs are 50 years old.
Yeah, and the other thing is, we recorded the songs ahead of time, and Paul had told us, well, you really should get all this stuff together. But we say, yeah. They're my brothers. But they're dead. They're passed away. You can't say, hey, can I use your song? Sure, no problem. Go ahead. They're not going to sign a word for it. So we had to hunt where these songs were. And they were so unorganized where things were. Burying him. Oh, my God. God bless them. But it took a long time, like a year and a half, to hunt down where these songs were so we could pay the license fees to use them properly.
Well, that's really interesting in that, just talking about that, but in general makes, like I was expressing some surprise because I'm like, oh guys, you are veterans, you're icons or whatever, but like you must sit around and think like the kind of careers that both of you guys had in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 60s, whatever. Those kind of careers don't like the success you guys have, that kind of success or those kind of careers they could not happen now.
No, they're gone. That's not how you do it. You got to have social media. You got to have 5,000 people following you on Spotify before they'll put you in a nice spot. We don't have that. We have like 1,000,
So it's true. I mean, you can have a hugely successful pop career. Ask Chapel Roan. You can do this, but it is very different. And then the other beautiful thing about it is, you go on Instagram and you see how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are putting out music every single day. And that might have been true in 1987, but we didn't know them.
Yeah.
Because they actually got signed, which was a big deal. That was the thing. You weren't ever going to hear that music. So the balance has shifted in funny ways, in positive,
and also just the way, because there were not 20 million different ways to discover music. Like basically, if the Cowsills were on the Johnny Carson show, or the Bangles got a video on MTV or on K-Rock or played American Bandstand or Saturday Night Live or whatever, like got on a TV show, whatever, like the next day everybody would know that song, everybody would like that song, all the other radio stations would be hopping on board. Like, I mean, you guys must once in a while like just be like, damn, I'm glad that I got famous when I did, that I had my success when I did, you know, like those
Love
kind
to
of
get on
careers.
Jimmy Fallon. We'd love to get on these shows, but how do you get on them now? You know?
We're the oldest baby band in the world.
Yeah.
But
I
also,
love.
there was that thing like you were just describing. There was a communal experience of music, and whether that was, seeing somebody on a TV show or hearing it on the radio, 5 times while you're sitting in traffic because they keep repeating it, which is why. Actually, John and I just last week, 2 weeks ago, we were doing a podcast and got in our car, and I hear 1,000 times. And I'm thinking, oh, I didn't think I had my phone playing that. That's weird. And I looked at it going, oh, it's on the radio. It was on Sirius Radio was playing it. And we were like kids. We were like so excited.
Because it's hard to get on there. And it was on Outlaw Radio. It was on the
Outlaw Highway.
Outlaw Highway on
Anyway.
Like Yoakum's channel.
Outlaw Country on
yeah.
Sirius FM. And that was huge. Thank you, Adam Saltzman, for helping us get that on there,
But the reason why it's so exciting is that you're hearing it not just from your phone, off of your own playlist. You're hearing it when potentially hundreds, thousands of other people are hearing it at the same time.
So it's
and
exciting.
That is really exciting.
It's nice that you still get excited about, both of you have had obviously lots of success and, kind of done and seen it all. It's nice that you still get excited about hearing your song on the radio.
Right. And this is different because like we're older and really paying attention, and it's us. And it's like, holy mackerel, somebody's going to hear this.
It's very exciting.
Oh, and I bet your brothers would be excited. That Barry and Bill would be excited.
Yeah, we joke that they'd be looking over our shoulders going, don't do it like that. What's wrong? We don't do it like that.
No, but that's what she says. I don't say that.
But
okay.
Well, maybe, but I think Barry, I don't know. I think they'd be very proud. I really do hope that they would be.
Anyway.
I believe it.
No, but I'm curious about the process of, first of all, how you selected from the songs you did choose to do. And also, if there were any kind of either a good way or a weird way or whatever, like any emotional things about sort of stepping into their shoes, or you feeling any pressure, any, like all the things you just said, like how did you come to take these songs and kind of like make them your own, but also like honor the legacy of your brothers and the original versions of the songs?
That was definitely a consideration. Some of the songs, many of Bill's songs, we wanted to honor the original approach anyway, and keep them in the traditional country feel, sound.
Well, it's what I like too. That's my favorite kind of music since I was a kid. So yeah,
you sing that so well. And one of the other songs, "Don't Look Back," which was recorded by the Cowsills on an actual Cowsills record, was very vocal, harmony forward, very Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and we wanted to keep it in that vein. And another thing that we both love. So, and then there was a couple of songs, is it Downtown or which one that you and Paul wanted to completely rearrange? And I came in and went going, no, that's not how Barry would like it.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Made them crazy.
I wanted to have horns.
Downtown?
It was sound on sound. Yeah. And I wanted to have horns on it and everything. And she just came in and
I had no problem with
ruined it.
Because I was like, but that's not how Barry wrote it. So
to clarify for people, like, and for me also, just like the timeline, are any of these songs on the album songs that actually ever came out, or are they all songs that, they are, right? Are there any that weren't? Are there any that were sort of like lost tracks?
Some are, and some came out on kind of records that not a lot of people will ever hear because it wasn't a proper label and that kind of thing. So most of Bill's stuff came out with the Blue Shadows, except for a few of those songs. He did one with Blue Northern. One of them is from an old Cowsill record called "You in My Mind." One is "Vagabond." It was impossible to find.
He recorded it, but it's not on an album, right?
It is. It's on. It's on the Blue Shadow, Blue Northern album. Right. Anyway, but that was in Canada. So down here, not a lot of people know it. I think you can hear Bill's versions of them on Spotify now, and that was by the Blue Shadows, and worth listening to because he's just
Please.
these guys were the best, and that's why I wanted to do them. These are the best songs, and we wanted to do our favorite songs of them. And so Vicki and I, we just cherry picked what we wanted to sing, really, and we needed to have 6 of each brother, and sat there who sit at a piano deciding who was going to sing what, and if somebody really wanted to do it, they got to do it, and otherwise it was a toss-up who's going to sing what. There were obvious ones that I was going to sing and obvious ones she was going to sing, and then there was that middle ground. Well, who's going to do that? Yeah.
So what was, when you chose these songs, when you went through this process, and you sort of touched on it just now, John, but like, was the agenda or the mission behind making this record, besides just enjoying the process, were you trying to sort of evangelize your brother's work because like songs that were lesser heard, or just sort of like put the spotlight on their songwriting abilities?
That is the reason, to put a spotlight on their songs, and I wanted to sing them. I've always wanted to sing them, and so it was just a great first project, especially for me, who's never recorded a project on my own. And I just love the songs, and it was just a great idea, the whole concept of it. Let's do a tribute album to 2 of my brothers who passed away. And I would do Bob's songs if he had passed away, but he's still alive.
Sorry, Bob.
No, but I'm saying
you could do the I don't know, the Living Brothers project. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I'm not a big writer.
I don't know.
I write a little bit. But I'm kind of more like Alison Krauss, Alison Krauss. I'm a singer of songs and interpreter, and if I can find a good song, I'll sing the crap out of it. I mean, if it's something I really care about, and I mean, this album is emotionally charged.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Really, times you would get at the mic, I couldn't get through them.
Really.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can tell even talking about it makes you emotional. No, I like that you're so honest. I did want to ask if you're willing to talk about, like, were there any particular songs or specific lyrics that were not necessarily the hardest to get through, although maybe that's the case, but just were the most emotional or resonated with you the most?
Most emotional one for me was Hearts Collide.
Yeah. Very
yeah.
He sang it at our wedding, for one thing.
Oh, you did.
My brother Barry did.
Barry did. Sorry.
Barry stood up with a guitar in the front of my friend's garden, and as we made our way across the garden, Barry sang that song. Yeah. And it was something that I asked him to do because I knew it from an album he had made, and when we were both in New Orleans, and it's just such a gorgeous sentiment. I mean, just the everlasting aspects of love.
Yeah.
What about for you, Vicki, in terms of the songs that you sang? Which ones kind of were most intense for you, most powerful for you?
Well, Old Timeless, and that was another Barry's other sort of very emotional song. But he ever since he was a teenager, it seemed like this guy was looking and thinking about his own departure of the planet. It seemed to me he was always kind of thinking about what happens when you go. And so the songs he wrote when he was 14. A very young man, even Don't Look Back, which is another song that we cover on our record, this record, he wrote when he was a teenager and produced it. Yeah. And it's about taking leave of your loved ones and how to do it in a way that, with grace, and just don't look back, and just, don't hold on to things, just go, if you need to go. Yeah. And he, we lost him in Katrina, actually, and under slightly mysterious circumstances, but Old Timeless was a song he recorded on his As Is record when he was living in New Orleans, and he did a very, very stripped down. It's sort of just him and a sort of a keyboard,
like a
sound, like a
toy organ,
melodium or something, kind of a sound. So Paul Allen and I really talked about how do we want to shape this song and how do we want to approach it while it's still honoring that sort of almost spiritual feel to it.
It's stripped down too.
And it's still, we kept it very open and airy. But
it's beautiful.
That is a song that he's talking about, when he goes and leaving things behind for others, and and don't be afraid, and I'm not afraid, and I don't mind the pain, and I'm just put me on the path, and here I go. And it's like, okay, I can get inside this.
Yeah.
When you say, if you don't want to answer this, I totally understand, but mysterious circumstances, I'm unaware of what you're referring to.
Barry was in New Orleans when the storm hit, and he made the decision to not evacuate. He was kind of couch crashing with some friends. And we didn't know where he was exactly. And he made a call after the storm passed. He made a call to Susan's phone, but of course he called her cell phone, and this is 2005. There was just voicemail on the phone, but of course he's thinking that he's talking to a machine where someone could hear it, and he's saying, pick up. So how heartbreaking is that? Because obviously we couldn't pick up. He didn't leave a number. We didn't know where he was exactly. And then he chose to not get on one of the buses. He said it was just, he was describing the situation, that it was very tenuous and strange. And he was like, I got it. I can't do this. And then we heard nothing for months and months. And we went in, Susan and her husband got on a boat and floated into the flooded city of New Orleans and looking for him, and, never heard or found anything until December. So it went from August to December, and when his remains were found.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know that story. I knew it was Katrina, but I didn't know any of the other details. Was there any significance of wanting to do this project or release this project? It's kind of crazy to me to realize that Katrina was 20 years ago this year.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Here's another interesting parallel to the Bill and Barry thing. We're having a memorial for Barry in Newport, Rhode Island, and we're setting up for it. And
we get a phone call.
Bill just passed away.
Wow.
So we kind of smiled and kind of made the best light of it we could, and said, well, I guess we're having a twofer today.
Susan said, of course, Bill couldn't let Barry have his own moment. Of course, this is going to happen like this. Brothers. Oh my God. Really?
Oh God.
Because they had kind of a beautiful, not a competition, but those two were of a type.
And growing up together, they were inseparable.
Yeah.
And then later on, they tortured each other because both of them had much substance abuse in their life. And
I do appreciate that you do have this dark humor, that you can talk about such sad things and yet make jokes.
Nothing else to get you through the life, babe.
I mean, I can't believe you're telling me these things, yet I'm laughing while you're telling me, because
you should. We want you to, because it's ironic.
Funny, sad.
It's okay.
Okay, good. Because there's part of me, it's like, should I be laughing?
No. We are not pity party people, but it just, I mean,
yeah.
I'm an emotional person, so I flip flop right between them. But I'm a quick laugh as soon as I realize that their personalities and stuff, they would be so okay with all of this.
Absolutely.
You'd have to know them, and so that they went off into, like she said, Susan says, well, of course they did. It's
funny. So have you played any shows yet for this record? I know you have some dates coming up. I hope to go to the one at Zebulon. So what's the experience of doing a whole set of, I don't know if you do other stuff from your respective catalogs, but
we pull from Drifters, from Action Skulls, our band with Bill. We do a lot of things from the Long After the Fire, of course. And we do some Bangles and Cowsills stuff because people want to hear it.
Because why not?
And
Yeah.
it's really a fun, joyful hang
Yeah.
with us when we go to perform. We haven't done that many shows, probably 10 or so
Yeah.
since
We
we've
haven't,
been
yeah,
working.
we've been done quite a few supporting sets, which
Yeah.
is what we'll be doing at Zebulon, also supporting the -5.
Yeah.
And we're supporting the Smithereens. We did just in San Diego a few
Yeah.
days ago. And we'll be doing so again in Natick,
Yep. Natick.
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Natick.
Natick.
You say tomato.
But and those are just half-hour sets, so we don't
Yeah.
really play the whole set, you know, because
Well,
we
obviously.
can go 90 minutes, and then you get a lot of different aspects of
We
our
get
lives
stories.
and our stories and together. Oh, we're always telling stories anyway, and
Talk too much.
we laugh a lot and probably talk too much. But
Well, you guys have great stories. I mean, just talking to you today, I've heard so many great stories. So I really appreciate you sharing, you know, the funny stuff and the sad stuff. And I do want to one day see that 300-page fan fiction thing. I want it on the screen. But before I let you guys go, like I mentioned that, you know, obviously you get along really famously and it was all kind of meant to be, but you didn't really do music together until kind of recently. And I think one of you mentioned, I think Vicki, you mentioned there being like, you know, adjustments to being bandmates,
anyway.
basically. How's that working out is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah.
How have you, what?
I'm the hot head in the family. She's the calm one. So go ahead, Vicki. You can tell her. I'm going to hide behind you. No.
Well, we also acknowledge that we have many relationships. You know, we have familial, because I was his sister before I was ever his lover, wife, girlfriend, and then now we're musical partners. So it sort of just added another layer to what was already
and we're really great
complicated
friends. We're really
Yeah,
great.
I can tell.
So that is the foundation of our relationship, is that we're great friends, and you don't get away from your friends. You just kind of work through stuff.
Yeah,
so
work through stuff.
And it's not really hard work. It's just little things and then you say, okay, we need to talk about this. And then we do, you know, and we've been in relationships that people don't use their words and they just hurl shit at you. So it's really nice to be with somebody who you can have a conversation with and feel safe having the conversation. And that's what works for us. Because like I'll get impatient when we're trying to learn something. I want to hurry up, guy, you know, and everybody has to find their way through a song, you know, and I was like, I'm the new guy, so it's like, oh yeah, let's get this done now, you know, and so I had to calm my butt down. So I made a sign. I wrote a sign with like really hard pen writing on the paper because I was mad at myself, like, be calm, don't be mean, and
stay calm, don't act frustrated, which I thought was interesting grammar.
Don't act frustrated and don't be mean.
Yeah, don't be mean.
I think that's great advice for anyone. Everyone should have that sign in their house.
And anytime we would,
I made it into a sign.
Yeah, she did as a gift to me. It was just on a paper, and I would put the paper on the coffee table before we started rehearsing. Be patient, and it was poor grammar on my part, and she copied it word for word. Yes, so that's what's funny, and you'll see that in the 1,000 times video. It'll be on the wall. It's on the wall in our studio.
So that's a little Easter egg for y'all.
All right. Well, it's great advice. Obviously, you guys are couple goals. It's working for you. So it was really lovely to chat with you and get your whole history. And congratulations on this project and on the almost your anniversary coming up. And yeah, kids should just go to shows and bootleg the shows. You never know what might happen.
Lindsay, we'll find you at the Zebulon, right?
Oh,
I would love that.
So cool. Awesome.
We'll definitely see you
so
there.
Sweet.